Right, Wizard Workshops, here we are. This is a sequel to my discontinued key saga from yesterday. This here is the forge key that we could not get copied because the British manufacturers had discontinued it because only 3 countries were making it, and they found that they were getting faulty welding of this part here. And so instead of getting better workers or better welders, they discontinued the key. So what I'm doing now is I've been experimenting with casting a key in the simplest way possible, which is Delft clay, which is this sort of crumbly, oily, crumbly clay sand that can take a high temperature, take a metal at fairly high temperatures. And so I started thinking, what about, I discovered that when I accidentally left some a spoon, it was actually a spoon, in some molten pewter in a electric container of it that was continually heated. After a while the spoon got eaten or dissolved in the pewter, and I realized that I'd made some kind of alloy. So I thought, how cool if we can have a low temperature alloy that is stronger than pewter, that we can cast quite easily right here with a small map gas. It's actually, this one is called trade map gas, instant heat like that. What if we can just make an alloy here and cast it here in Delft clay? So I'm going to do a little trial / demonstration of making what is basically the most ancient, wonderful alloy, which was bronze. And that is when tin, which is a metal which has got a low melting point, there's some tin there. Well, it's actually pewter, so it's got a bit of something else in it, like bismuth or antimony, but basically it's tin. When that is mixed with copper, heated with copper, the result is a thing that is a metal that is stronger than either, and it's actually got a beautiful shine to it. It's a lovely metal and quite hard, in fact hard enough to make weapons out of. So I'm going to try making some bronze with some of my pewter from old mugs, which are easily found at op shops, or they used to be. They're getting scarcer. Here's a pewter cast of a Celtic cross, and the beauty of pewter is it's such a low melting point that you can actually use we've got dozens of them. Where's one? Yeah, you can use a silicone mold. There's a Tree of Life mold in silicone, 2-part mold. You just press them together, pour the pewter in. However, for a key you need something stronger than pewter. So here we go. We're going to try and melt this copper and pewter together, make bronze, pour it into this recess here, which I pressed a key, this key, the forge key, pressed it in to the Delft clay. So here we go. This may take a little while, but I'll have a wee chat as we go. So here we are, melting. The pewter will melt first, but as if by magic, the copper will start to be dissolved into the pewter at a lower temperature. Like, it's really hard to melt copper by itself, I have found. See, the copper is now red hot, orange hot, but it's not melting as such. But when it's in contact with the molten pewter, or tin, basically tin, it magically dissolves or melts at a lower temperature, and the resulting metal is none other than the famous alloy that we call bronze. Except in this case, I've used quite a bit of tin in proportion to the copper. So probably it won't be as golden coloured as genuine bronze, which has got a higher proportion of copper. So here we go, we've almost melted all of that copper wire into the pewter or tin. So here we go, I'm going to pour it while still heating it up. I'm going to pour it in here like so. Okay, so there we are. Can you see that? That there needs to sit for a little while to cool down, because metal, when it's molten, it's liquid, and when it starts to get to a certain lower temperature, magically crystals form, and it's the crystalline structure of metal that makes it so strong. So you dissolve that by heating, and steel takes about, 1600 degrees, way hotter than I can do in a little crucible like this. You could heat it all day with this matte gas and it would not. It would just glow and start to oxidize and burn rather than actually melt. But pewter, you can do it in almost instantly, and bronze takes a little more heat. So you have to let it cool so that the crystals form. And yeah, see, I can still scratch that. So the crystals haven't formed fully yet, because it is still it's still quite hot. So the Delft clay has got oil in it and it smokes a bit, but doesn't lose its form and so on. So it takes a pretty good impression of whatever you press into it. I'll just show you what I mean by pressing in. You can do this just basically by hand, or you can gently hammer it in, or use any tool that comes to hand. So there we go there. I will just take it out, and there's an impression in there. You have to be careful when you pull it out, obviously. But now this metal may be crystallized enough. Yeah, hear that? Lovely sort of crunchy, frosty surface that sounds more solid. So let's see, for the sake of speed, I shall get that off, and see that sort of burnt Delft clay, but look underneath, the beautiful silvery semi-bronze. So that's very interesting. Metallurgy, as I used to in Papua when I was 9. We went to Papua, and we're on a Anglican mission station, a technical school, teaching the Papuans the basics of mechanics. Well, my father was just teaching normal English and things, but it was a technical college, and they used to pull the jeeps from the World War II out of the bush, and other things, pipes and all kinds of interesting machinery was just mouldering away in the bush, and they would, believe it or not, restore these jeeps to their former glory. So yeah, anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, in Papua I had the Oxford Junior Encyclopedia, and that was my sort of go-to source for all kinds of now I'll just cool this down with some water. Hiss. There we go. And now we have a forge key with a bit of luck. It's the impression is good on that side. Obviously I have to do a little bit of work on it, pinch away some of the excess metal, and remelt it. Let's see how hard it is. Oh yeah, it's brittle and quite hard. Hard enough for a key, I hope. If not, I would just up the amount of copper in the mix, and it'd probably yeah. So there we go. It's sort of the alchemy, the alchemy of metals. It's fascinating. So here we go. Yeah. So the Oxford Junior Encyclopedia had an entry under metallurgy, and funny word. Hopefully I pronounce it right. But metallurgy, the science, the study, the art of mixing different metals to make, and carbon goes with iron to make steel, and there's all kinds of mixtures and recipes for different alloys, and one of them being bronze. So there we go. I have the start of a key which should work just fine. So the British manufacturers who've stopped making the blanks for these keys, we can thumb our nose at them in a sense. Of course, this is fairly labour intensive, but for us it's fun, and we're learning, and we will have a practical way of copying for our own use the keys, so we won't have to throw away the lock and buy an expensive new set of keys and lock and fit them, etc. Fit the lock. Instead, we will do the Zen of lock maintenance, key maintenance, and cast our own. So I hope that was enjoyable. I followed up after yesterday's video, in which I said we'll do our best to find a way to forge or cast a replacement keys. So there we go. So don't forget to like and share and subscribe, and more adventures of ideas and 3D things to come. So here we go.